Hey YouTube, it's Chris with Braille. I know I've mentioned in a few places that the next video I plan to put out was going to be diorama groundwork, how to build up earth and grass for a diorama base. I still do plan on putting out a very in-depth look at how I build up groundwork and basing for dioramas and vignettes, but while I'm working on that, I did have an opportunity to put this quick little, more of a tip video on something that I've discovered within the last year or so. Again, I've been making models for on and off probably almost 20 years, and this is still something that I'm refining and trying to get better at. And I discovered that especially with grab handles or lifting rings, these small little parts that you try to clip off the sprue as close as you can, but inevitably, there's always going to be some kind of cleanup required. So the idea is when you cut the part off the sprue, leave plenty of the sprue gate there, leave the whole thing, just go ahead and cut the whole chunk of sprue off with it, and then use that to hang on to and go ahead and just glue that piece straight onto the kit part. Once that glue is dried, now instead of trying to hang on to this tiny little piece and clean it up in your hands or with tweezers or whatever, you can hang on to this whole big kit part. And then whether you at that point when I get out a razor saw, whether you want to get out your nippers, some sharp nippers or whatever it is, you can do that while you're holding on to this big part, and then you can at that point grab a file, whether you have some metal files or some sandpaper, and then you can again hold on to this whole big piece and use that to clean up remnants of the sprue gate. Now I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to the sound that was recorded, just so you can kind of get an idea for how light a touch I'm using with this metal file. You really don't need to go in with a lot of pressure, and that's one of the reasons that you can break a small part sometimes, is just applying too much pressure, trying to get it all done in one swipe, and even if you do at that point, maybe you've taken off more than you intended. So really light pressure. And it'll take care of all that. If not, if there's a little left over, you can also use a bit of the extra thin cement just to kind of dissolve some of it. Um, you can scrape it with a edge of a hobby knife. There's plenty of techniques, but the main idea is that once it's attached to the part, it gives you a much more solid foundation, and you're much less likely to apply pressure onto that small part in a way that would cause undue stress and snap the part in half or send it flying across the room, or any other number of things that can always happen with small parts. That's pretty much it, guys. I think the technique really speaks for itself. It seems pretty straightforward to me anyway. I wish I would have thought of it sooner. Probably would have saved myself a lot of headaches. And obviously, again, you can get copper wire. You can do this with copper wire. But here's a Panther turret that I've been working on and off. And you can see, especially with this grab handle above the loader's hatch, the way that Dragon's molded it. It's really three-dimensional. It's got these big kind of weld blocks or whatever where it's been attached to the turret roof, and it'd be easy enough to use a combination maybe of kit parts and copper wire to recreate it. But if you can use the kit part, I say just go ahead and do it. It doesn't seem overly thick to me. It doesn't seem out of scale. Decent mold, so if you can get away with it, I've just found that leaving a lot of that pore gate on there and then trimming it up after the glue's dried and just holding onto the whole turret or holding onto the whole piece just gives you a much more solid foundation to apply that sanding pressure or the filing pressure. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning back in, and like I said, I do plan on doing a larger, more in-depth video here coming up shortly on my groundwork techniques, some of the supplies that I use, some of the ways you can build up some dynamic terrain so it's not just flat. Thanks for all the subscribers I've got now. I continue to watch these numbers go up, and I do appreciate it, guys. If there's any other questions you guys got or anything you guys want to see in the future, please let me know, and I will do my best. We are still under some kind of quarantine, self-isolation. If you want to check out my challenge video, go ahead and do that. I'll post a link here to that. But stay safe out there, guys, and build more models.